If I told you that your most dangerous weapon is not strength, not voice, not prominence, but that it is them never having seen you appear, what then? You don't need to prove anything. Because the truth is this world doesn't break you at war. It breaks you by making you fight yourself. It makes you doubt your own worth. It lets others mock you, ignore you, look right through your presence as if you had never existed. But the most dangerous thing isn't hatred. It's being underestimated, being seen as harmless, as powerless, as someone not worth watching. And if you don't understand this law, you'll spend your life chasing recognition, while others use your invisibility to rise in silence. Machiavelli understood that. He didn't teach people how to shine. He taught them how to turn the shadows into a weapon, make the enemy relax, make them laugh, and then turn away, just in time for you to strike. No warning, no threats, just a blow cold as steel, sharpened in the dark. Now ask yourself, have you ever been underestimated, ignored, disdained? Have you ever entered a room and felt invisible? If so, you felt the quiet sting. They don't break you by attacking directly. They break you by laughing in your face with that mocking smile as they dismiss you, by pretending you were never in the room at all. It isn't hatred. It's forgetting. It's being underestimated. It's not a torn wound. It's a poison blade sinking in slowly. You show up. You listen. You patiently wait your turn. You think that if you're kind, if you yield, if you quietly contribute, one day someone will notice. But what happens instead? Others push further. The arrogant voices echo loud. Your silence gets mistaken for weakness. You were promised your time will come. But look at reality. It never did. Instead, the disdain grows more obvious. They cut you off mid-sentence. They offer a polite smile while, in their mind, crossing your name off the list of people who matter. And all the while you stay silent. Silent because you were taught silence is noble. Patient because you believed humility is power. But ask yourself, how many times has that silence been misread? In a world that worships noise, silence is not seen as wisdom. It's seen as cowardice. In a society obsessed with ego, humility is not seen as virtue. It's exploited as a gap to be used. You're not eroded because you're weak. You're eroded because no one ever taught you how to turn their contempt into a weapon. Think carefully. How many times have you felt like a ghost watching everything while no one truly sees you? You smile, but the eyes meeting yours just glance past. You speak, but your words vanish into the air. You give, but the credit goes to someone else. And the cruelest part, you begin to believe it. You convince yourself maybe you really are average. Maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you were born to be forgotten. That is the hidden pain, not being hated, but being treated as though you don't exist. That pain doesn't scream. It bleeds in silence. It creeps day by day, eating away at your confidence until even you begin to underestimate yourself. But stop. Ask yourself, what if this pain is not a curse, but a signal, a quiet invitation that you must become dangerous in a different way? Because in this world, the overlooked holds something the noisy crowd will never have. Freedom. Freedom to move unseen. Freedom to build without interference. Freedom to grow in silence while others waste their lives chasing attention. And remember this, when they think you're weak, they lower their guard. When they think you're useless, they stop watching you. And the moment they stop paying attention is the moment you can strike the deadliest blow. But to do that, you must transform. Turn pain into patience. Turn invisibility into strategy. Turn silence into a weapon. You don't need to be loud to be dangerous. You don't need to be seen to be important. You don't need to be praised to be powerful. What you need is to stop resenting being underestimated and start using it. So ask yourself, how many years have you wasted craving recognition instead of using the shadows to prepare? You're used to being doubted, excluded, dismissed. But that is exactly where your power begins. Let them think you're harmless. Let them laugh. Let them turn away, because in that moment, you're not standing still. You're building. You're planning. You're becoming someone that, by the time they realize it's already too late to stop you, in the dark, another version of you is forming, one that no longer begs to be seen, but chooses the exact moment to appear, and chooses precisely who deserves to witness it. Why do people underestimate you? Not because you did something wrong, but because the human brain is wired that way. We are not drawn to stillness. We are pulled toward noise by status, by showmanship, by those who enter a room with arrogance and demand attention by volume, not by value. From schoolyard to workplace to relationships, society trains people to equate confidence with a loud mouth, to confuse performance with real power. So when someone like you walks in quiet, composed, unostentatious, they don't see strength. They only see an absence. They don't see you. They only react to the programming inside their heads. Pause for a second and think, how many times have you been passed over simply because you didn't shout louder than the others? How many times have you watched the showman get attention while you worked in silence? We live in an age addicted to performance, a world that measures presence by how often you post, how fast you reply, how loud you make yourself. In that system, restraint is labeled weakness. Stillness is tagged as invisibility. Patience is buried as a secondary trait. But Machiavelli warned long ago, the game of power never rewards noise. It only rewards control. And control begins where the ego ends. Picture a lion stalking prey. It does not roar. It does not brag. It waits, silent, cold, each second without attack, an investment in certainty. And when it strikes, the prey has no chance to resist. Now apply that to your life. At work, at home, in your social circle, you may feel small, but you hold what the flash you have long since lost, the element of surprise. When you're underestimated, you're not watched. When you're not watched, you can observe. You can learn. You can adapt. You can build in silence without interference. That is not weakness. It is strategic invisibility. And in a world intoxicated by recognition, you are clear-headed. But there's a deeper layer, a psychological mechanism that Machiavelli and later psychoanalysts exposed. It's called projection. What does that mean? It means people do not truly see you as you are. They see you through the lens of themselves. If they are insecure, they interpret your silence as submission. If they are arrogant, they view your humility as insignificance. And if they fear being forgotten, they mock those who live in the shadows. What does this mean? You are not underestimated because you are weak. You are underestimated because you do not fit the formula they know. And that makes you dangerous in ways they cannot yet comprehend. The 4 fatal mistakes. The moment you're underestimated, most people react instinctively, and those very reactions become the death sentence. You don't lose because they despise you. You lose because you chose the wrong way to respond. Mistake number 1, explaining too much. When someone doubts your value, the first instinct is self-defense. You start talking. You want to prove yourself. You want them to understand. But Machiavelli warned, he who talks too much loses his advantage because every desperate word you spill is a confession. You are admitting that you need their recognition, and the one who needs recognition is always the one easiest to manipulate. Think carefully. How many times have you done this? How many times have you poured out endless explanations only to meet a cold stare in return? Mistake number 2, showing off and making noise. When you're ignored, you crave to be seen. You begin boasting, speaking louder, posting more, doing anything to force your way into sight. But understand this, the attention you gain this way is not respect. It's temporary pity or lasting contempt. People don't admire noise. They learn to despise it. Real power is not in being the center of the room. Real power is in making the whole room uneasy because they can't tell what you're thinking. Mistake number 3, letting rejection define you. This is the deepest cut. Because when you're constantly overlooked, you start believing maybe they're right. You take others' silence as proof that you're not enough. And from there, you turn yourself into one of 2 people. The bitter one who reacts with hatred or the broken one who disappears even from themselves. But both are traps. The one led by bitterness is predictable. The one drowned in invisibility ceases to exist. You were not born to prove. You were born to build. Mistake number 4, playing by the enemy's rules. When someone insults you, you want to strike back. When someone dismisses you, you want to react. But the moment you react the way they expect, You've already lost because you're fighting on their battlefield by their rules. And while you act impulsively, you forfeit your strategic ground. Machiavelli cautioned, never let the enemy choose the battlefield. And remember, when you try to prove your worth to someone who already denied it, you surrender before the fight even began. So what's the alternative? Not reaction, but calculated withdrawal. Not the silence of the weak, but the observation of the patient. Let them underestimate you. Let them grow confident in their contempt. Let them laugh, because the hardest strike is always the one no one sees coming. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to prove yourself, you become undeniable. Your energy shifts. You no longer beg to be understood. You no longer react. You begin to plan. You calculate. You prepare. You become a presence. One that doesn't need to explain, yet forces everything to revolve around it. The Machiavellian mindset, to be feared, not liked. Niccolò Machiavelli never taught you to be kind. He never told you to please the world. He said only one thing: know when to be loved and when to be feared. Most choose love. They crave approving eyes, applause, recognition. But Machiavelli understood. He who depends on love will sooner or later grow weak, because love is fickle. Today they cheer you. Tomorrow they forget you. Look back at your own life. How many times have you sacrificed yourself just to be liked? And in the end, did it make you stronger or turn you into a puppet? Machiavelli was more ruthless than that. He wrote, "The common people are always deceived by appearances, and this world is full of common people." That is the truth. Most humans do not seek depth. They are hypnotized by spectacle, by hollow slogans, by confidence that screams instead of control that whispers. And he drew one philosophy. Power is not for the popular. Power is for the predator. You want to be liked, then you have already lost. Because to be liked, you must yield. You must bow. You must bend yourself to fit their expectations. And by doing so, you hand them control. You want to be feared. It sounds cruel, but think carefully. Fear creates respect. Fear forces people to account for you, even if they hate you. And real power does not need love. It needs calculation. Strip your emotions down and observe. In The Prince, Machiavelli did not paint a rosy world. He tore down the curtain of illusions. He rejected the myth of universal morality. He simply described humans as they are: selfish, forgetful, quick to betray, worshippers of strength, mockers of hesitation. If you're still listening, it means you too have witnessed this truth. You've seen someone betray faster than a blink. You've seen a friend turn their back the moment you were weak, haven't you? So what does this mean for you? It means that if you are underestimated, good, you are not a target. You are a ghost, and ghosts are not hunted. Ghosts are only feared when it's too late. Machiavelli knew well. A threat that is seen can be managed, but a threat unseen cannot be stopped. Picture your life as a kingdom. Each emotion is a guard. Each reaction is a gate thrown open. Most people leave their gates wide. They rush into arguments over insults. They fight for scraps of recognition. They reveal every weakness, simply by failing to control their reactions. But the Machiavellian does differently. He observes. He waits. He lets enemies drown in their arrogance. And in that very arrogance, they reveal their weakness. Machiavelli's strategy was never instant domination. His strategy was always patience, silence, weaponized, turning underestimation into a cloak of invisibility, and from there controlling all. Do you see it? The loud always want admiration, but the silent, they want your position, and they will take it without warning. This is not a fair game. This is a game of intelligence, because the world does not reward the best. It only rewards the most prepared. And preparation never happens under the lights. It happens in the shadows. Look around you. Those who truly hold power, they don't shout. They pull strings. They think 5 steps ahead. They play chess while everyone else is still playing the game of attention. So, if you're tired of being underestimated, don't resist it. Use it. Let it shield you while you sharpen your blade. Let their laughter pay the price of arrogance. Let their eyes stay blind to your next move. Because when you walk Machiavelli's path, you are no longer the one begging to be seen. You are preparing for the strike when they least expect it. And when that moment comes, supreme power will not lie in being crowned. It will lie in this, that you already took the crown while no one even noticed it was gone. The transformation, when silence becomes your armor. There will come a moment when silence is no longer a burden. It becomes a weapon. A moment when being ignored no longer wounds you. It becomes the armor that shields you. That is a turning point. The transformation to mind where you no longer ask, why don't they see me? Instead, you begin to whisper, good, let them stay blind. If you're still listening, that's a sign you are standing right on the edge of this transformation. In that moment, you stop reacting. You stop seeking recognition. You no longer waste your energy on those who never truly saw you. You stop bleeding from indifferent stares. You cross the boundary from the one forgotten to the one who deliberately chooses invisibility. And the truth is, having that choice changes everything. Most people live in a state of reaction, reacting to disrespect, reacting to silence, reacting to exclusion. But every reaction is a confession. It says you are still bound, that you are still hoping for acceptance, that you still need others to prove you exist. Ask yourself, how many times have you reacted only to realize afterward you just handed your power to someone else? The Machiavellian mindset does not react. It restructures. It takes rejection and turns it into opportunity. It takes emptiness and turns it into a shield. It takes invisibility and sharpens it into strategy. Here is what most never understand. Silence is not absence. Silence is design. And when you understand this, the entire game changes. You no longer need a seat at their table. You build your own, quietly, patiently, beneath the radar. They think you vanished. But in reality, you are only redirecting your energy. You stop investing in their recognition. You begin investing in your own rebirth. This is not escape. This is reconfiguration. It is not avoiding reality. It is a strategic withdrawal of emotion. Power does not come from being fearless. Power comes from taming fear, not using pain as a prison, but as raw material for training, not clinging to the version of you that needed applause to survive, but releasing it. And the paradox is this. This transformation does not make you colder. It makes you sharper. You become clear about what deserves your energy. Clear that silence creates more leverage than any explanation. Clear that people only respect what they cannot predict. So what does transformation look like? It is when you stop justifying your ideas in every room. It is when you no longer explain your absence. It is when you smile and let them continue underestimating you, because now you see it as a gift, as camouflage, as strategy, as a delay that allows you to sharpen your sword. Machiavelli once wrote, "Men forget the death of their father more quickly than the loss of their inheritance." He didn't say it to be cruel. He said it to strip the truth bare. People only care about what threatens their interests. And when they believe you are nothing, they will not defend themselves. That is your opportunity. Think about this. When you stop trying to be something in their eyes, you begin to become everything in the shadows. Not to impress them, but to be ready. Ready for the moment the throne stands empty. Ready for when the laughter fades, and you are already behind curtain, hand on the lever of power. You don't need to be seen. You only need to become undeniable. The application, how to live this law. You may ask, all of this, how does it apply to real life? First, at work, don't announce your moves. Most people rush in for recognition. They spill their plans. They boast about every achievement. They scramble for every nod in the meeting room. But you are different. You let them run. You let them show off. You step back, observing. In the shadows, you see everything. The flow of power, the fragility of emotions, the silent alliances being formed. They celebrate fleeting attention while you quietly build lasting ground. Machiavellian strategy, speak little but make every word a blade. Don't turn yourself into background noise. Turn yourself into the moment that silences a room. Second, in relationships, don't beg, don't chase. Those without emotional discipline are always the ones exploited. If you have to constantly explain your heart, constantly prove your sincerity, you've already lost the initiative. Let patience be your shield. Let them think you are passive, while in truth, You are only waiting for the right moment, because love is not a scream. It is a quiet presence that cannot be replaced. And when the moment comes when they realize your value, you will already be beyond their reach. Third, in business and entrepreneurship, learn the art of delayed disruption. The great empires, Amazon, Netflix, Tesla, were once mocked. They were seen as weak, as incapable of competing, as outsiders, unfit for the giant's playground. But that was their advantage. While competitors sneered, they studied. While others mocked, they prepared in silence. And when they erupted, no one had time to recover. Your strategy is the same. Don't announce your plans. Don't scream your next move to the world. Build in silence. Strike when it's already too late for others to react. Fourth, in social influence, let mystery create the legend. Today, people compete to reveal everything about their lives. They share endlessly, boasting of every detail. But every time you reveal too much, you give away part of your power. True magnetism is not in complete transparency. True magnetism lives in the gaps, in the absence that forces others to wonder, to imagine, to weave their own legend around you. Post less, speak less, and when you do speak, make it a strike. The new face of power. Here is the brutal truth. You cannot be both powerful and predictable. You can choose to be powerful or to be loud, but you cannot be both. Let others sell noise. You build substance. Let them broadcast every step. You wait for the precise moment to end them. Let them underestimate you. Let them laugh. Let them believe you are not enough, because that is the greatest gift they ever gave you. And when the moment arrives, you won't need explanations. You won't need excuses. You won't need to scream for recognition. You will simply step forward while they panic, realizing they never saw what was taking shape in the shadows. Do you see it? The shadow they thought was weakness is in fact your kingdom. And in that darkness, you don't just survive, you rule. Because power is not only in strategy. Real power is a new face of strength. A strength that is not loud, not boastful, but turns the entire room with nothing more than presence. You won't recognize them immediately. They enter the room without fireworks. They don't try to dominate the spotlight. They don't need a single beam of light on them. They sit down quietly observing, but the atmosphere around them begins to shift. Not because they beg for attention, but because they radiated it. This is the new face of power. Not loud, not theatrical, not in need display. It is silence forged in darkness. It is composure tempered by contempt. It is calmness melted from the pain of being overlooked. They were once like you, wounded, dismissed, pushed aside. They once asked, why was my loyalty abandoned? Why was my patience disregarded? Why was my presence invisible? But they didn't stop there. They didn't cry out. They didn't scream. They didn't beg to be seen. They withdrew. They walked into the shadows. And in that silence, they rebuilt themselves. If you've ever wondered why others don't see you, remember that is not a sentence. It is an opportunity. In the dark, they learned to become untouchable. No betrayal could shake them anymore. No rejection could dissolve them anymore. No forgetting could erase them anymore. And that made them dangerous. Because the one no longer dragged down by contempt is the one who cannot be controlled. They no longer react. They record. They observe. Every insult logged. Every fake smile noted. Every condescending glance stored. Not to feed hatred, but to build strategy. And when the time comes, they don't need to announce. They don't need to threaten. They simply act without a sound, without warning. An entire game shifts. Imagine becoming such a person. Not avenging with words, but making your rise itself to revenge. How do you recognize this type of power? They speak slowly. They answer briefly. They never argue with fools. They know energy is currency, and they never spend it where there is no return. They don't chase. They don't explain. They don't repeat. And because they are no longer obsessed with being liked, they become untouchable. They don't post to prove. They post a position. They don't attend to impress. They attend to observe. They don't love blindly. They love with awareness. Because they've learned affection without boundaries is nothing more than a gilded cage. This is the new portrait of power. A person once scorned, once overlooked, once invisible. But instead of shrinking, they turned invisibility into fuel. They trained in silence, disciplined the mind, mastered desire until their very presence became the test of the entire room. Have you ever entered a space and felt that someone made the air heavy? They didn't need to speak. Their presence was enough. They are no longer swayed by opinion. They are guided only by purpose. They don't react to noise. They act only when necessary. And when they strike, they don't just win. They change the entire game. Their weapon is not brute force. It is preparation, not surface dominance, but precision and observation. Their greatest power is not in being seen. It is in knowing. They don't need to be seen to still hold value. This is the face you are becoming. Not weak, but silent, not powerless, but vigilant, not loud, but lethal. And this is the crossing point where you are no longer just the one changing yourself, but the one changing the gravity around you. No longer following the rules of the crowd, but writing new ones. No longer asking, do they see me? But whispering, they will never see what's coming. Until it's too late. Your declaration. If you're still here, admit this truth. You don't want to just live. You want to become a force. To step into the final level, you need a declaration. A declaration not for others to hear, but for you to carve into yourself. You no longer need to explain. You no longer need anyone to choose you. You no longer need an invitation to sit at the table because you stopped asking permission long ago. You no longer knock. You no longer wait. You no longer beg to be seen. You have become your own sovereignty. Every step you take now is no longer an experiment. It is a declaration. Every silence is no longer seen as weakness. It is the reshaping of the room. Every word you speak is no longer to please anyone, but to create a shift. From this moment on, let others keep laughing. Let them keep rejoicing in arrogance. Let them build thrones out of applause. While you in silence build an empire, they chase attention. You sharpen precision. They are addicted to recognition. You practice calculation. And by the time they realize, it will already be too late. You are no longer the version once mocked. You have become something else. Colder, clearer, untouchable. Etch this into your blood. If they don't value your words, give them silence. If they don't respect your time, give them absence. If they underestimate your power, let them. Because from now on, you no longer trade in persuasion. You trade in inevitability. You no longer seek approval. You become undeniable. I am the darkness because that is not a weakness. It is your advantage. Good. Because what is not noticed will never be stopped. And the one they do not see is the one who controls the whole board.